Michael Moore has a podcast. I'd love to get on, Michael, if you're listening. And Michael Moore just did a podcast where he spoke about Democratic Party officials and Democratic Party insiders that he's been speaking to over the last week or so. And the fact that, well, all of them that are criticizing progressives for daring bring up Joe Biden's mental state, well, they're not saying that behind closed doors. Let's take a listen.
With people that don't necessarily share my politics in the Democratic Party, but are good enough people that they were willing to confide their concerns and their fears to me. And I want to share some of that right now. Over these past 10 days, there is not one longtime Democrat, well-known Democrat, party functionary that I've spoken to that has not, off the record, admitted to me that there is a problem with Joe Biden. And when they say that, they are primarily speaking about something has happened or something is wrong. What they describe to me as cognitive decline. I mean, I guess there's many ways to describe it. We all know it because we all have parents or grandparents or great-grandparents. We've all seen it. It starts to worry us. It starts to concern us, but it's not all the time. And so it looks like, things are still okay. And we're decent people, and we want our elders to live a long life and a happy life and have access to everything in life that they should have, and they shouldn't be denied it simply because they've gotten old. So it's why I think it's difficult for some people to discuss this, but we're talking about the fate of the country at this moment here. That's all I'm talking about. We're talking about beating down Donald Trump, not Donald Trump crushing our candidate. And every person I have spoken to in these 10 days has agreed that there's a problem. Some of them have even gone so far as to describe to me the measures that they know from speaking to the Biden campaign or people close to the campaign. Measures are being taken. I keep being told this. Measures, don't worry, measures are being... What do you mean by measures? What measures can you do? Somebody is in decline. They're in decline. I mean, I don't know of a way to reverse that, but what are you saying? And then they start to describe to me things like, well, first of all, we're suggesting that he name his vice presidential nominee now or very soon. Tell the public who he's chosen. Tell her name. It'll be a woman, but it's going to be a very smart woman, a younger woman, a capable brainiac woman, somebody that when people, if he does mess up between now and the convention or now and the election, and it's enough for people to rationalize or say to themselves, it's okay. Look who's the VP. If this goes further, it gets worse or whatever. Look at the VP. Oh my God, she's incredible.
So that was just some of Michael Moore's podcast. But what Michael Moore is describing is the political version of what I have personally seen. I don't know if Jen has personally seen it. I have seen this journalistically on the road, where you have journalists. I have heard, when we go to cover events for you, funded by you, by the way, statuscoup.com/join. I have gone, when you go to the events, the rallies to cover these campaign events, as a journalist, you go into the press section. It's usually in the back of the area. There's a riser where press and cameramen and women stand so that they could get the shot of the speeches. But right next to it, there's also an area where journalists, sit with their laptops and they're tweeting and they're writing their stories, whatever. I have personally overheard more than once journalists talking about Joe Biden's cognitive decline. And by the way, they weren't using the term cognitive decline. I'm not going to say what they were talking, the phrases they're using, because it's irresponsible. I'm not a doctor. I'm not diagnosing with, I don't want to diagnose Joe Biden with anything. even my progressive friends who have been saying he's got dementia and these things. Listen, I think that's a little much. We don't know what he has, and this isn't about mocking Joe Biden. I wish him well health-wise. I don't want him to be president. And I just, as a journalist, I'm not going to be speculating what he has. But he clearly has something. It doesn't take a doctor to notice there's something very off cognitively here with Joe Biden. And I have heard other journalists, and I'm talking from large outlets, including the Washington Post, talking amongst themselves, like, this guy's got X, Y, and Z. Yet they won't dare write a story about it. They won't dare talk about it on CNN or MSNBC. It's this open secret that they will not dare mention. Can you imagine? Can you imagine for 1 second if Bernie Sanders on stage confused his wife with his sister, which Joe Biden did? Can you imagine if Bernie Sanders told his voters to vote on Super Thursday? Can you imagine if Bernie Sanders, forgot Barack Obama's name multiple times? No, Bernie doesn't have a sister. Can you imagine if Bernie Sanders was reciting phrases from the Declaration of Independence and was like, I hold these truths to be self-evident, blah, 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 the thing? Not only would the dearly departed Chris Matthews, who had to resign because he's a pig, from MSNBC, not only would Chris Matthews and Jennifer Rubin and, Chris Cuomo and Morning Joe and all these people, they would be having an absolute coordinated coronary if Bernie Sanders exhibited any of these symptoms, any of these phrases. Not only would they call for him to drop out, they would call for an immediate quarantine of Bernie Sanders. I'm not trying to be funny because obviously there's quarantines going on. They would call for Bernie to be put in a home immediately. But Joe Biden, journalists, they'll only chatter about it amongst themselves in the back, at bars. Politicians, they'll tell Michael Moore off the record. Insiders in the Democratic Party, they'll talk to Michael Moore, not for attribution, not to go on the record. Yes, something's clearly wrong here. And why this is so dangerous, and I said this weeks ago, we're not saying this is not about elevating Bernie Sanders. I have said, get Joe Biden to a home. That doesn't mean give the nomination to Bernie. I know you would like that, but throw Pete back out there. Throw Amy back out there. Throw Kamala out there. Corey, whoever. Fill Biden's slot with another neoliberal fraud. And let Bernie compete with them. But you are literally throwing somebody out there who, you could call it what you want, stutter, cognitive decline, something more. Literally, Donald Trump is going to savage Joe Biden. And, I was having a discussion with, I don't want to say who, with somebody yesterday who is, kind of your typical MSNBC viewer, older, well-educated, makes a decent income. Know what I'm talking about? Great guy. And there's, most of these people that watch, they're not bad people. They're just, misinformed. It goes for people who watch CNN too. And there's this mentality, and I've heard it not just from this person, but many other people. Oh, but Trump has, Trump, look at Trump speak. Look at Trump. He could barely string together words and sentences. Who cares? Biden's going to crush Trump. Say what you want about Donald Trump. He's certainly no William Shakespeare in writing or the way he speaks. I personally have not seen Donald Trump yet stumble through full sentences. I have not seen Donald Trump confuse who people are. I haven't seen Donald Trump switching up decades. I haven't seen Donald Trump forgetting where he is. It might happen. But I have not seen Donald Trump exhibiting the sheer loss of memory, losing his train of thought to the level of Joe Biden. So if you, as a card-carrying Democratic Party member, if you're banking on, well, Biden might have something, but Trump does too, so it'll cancel each other out. Here's the box of tissues on November 6th, because you're going to need a lot of them if you're banking on, well, Trump's got something too, so it really doesn't matter if Biden's what he has. Hope you enjoyed that last video. Hop on over to statuscoup.com where you can sign up for our email list and become a member for as low as $5 to $10 a month. Membership is how we grow. That's statuscoup.com/join. And remember, join our email list so we can grow the revolution with you.